Hello, this is Dr. Hufstader, and today I wanted to talk to you about heartburn, or what's commonly called gastroesophageal reflux disease. And it is a disease, and I know it's miserable, and I know many of you are dealing with this 2 and 3 and 4 times a week. I know that. And many of you are under the impression that heartburn is caused by too much acid in the stomach. And what is generally used as a treatment would be antacids, either an over-the-counter antacid or an acid-blocking medication or a medication just to suppress your stomach from producing acid. But I'm here to tell you that heartburn is not always caused by too much acid in the stomach. In fact, it's rarely caused by too much acid in the stomach. Heartburn is almost always caused by too little acid in the stomach, and that's hard for many of you to believe, I know, because it burns like acid, and I know that. Next time you have heartburn, what I'd like you to do is try this. Add a little acid to your stomach, and I know that doesn't sound like a very appealing idea when you're having this burning feeling in your stomach. But put about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and a little bit of water and just sip on it and see what happens. If adding acid during heartburn suppresses the symptoms of heartburn, then that's clear evidence that what we're dealing with is too little acid. If adding acid helps the symptoms, then clearly the cause of it must be too little acid. If adding the acid, the apple cider vinegar, causes the symptoms to get worse, or most people don't talk about it as getting worse heartburn, they talk about nausea or a bloating or a fullness, uncomfortable fullness, then that is a sign of too much acid. But most of you will find that adding acid almost immediately relieves the symptoms of heartburn. Now, by the way, regardless of what symptom you have, either the alleviation of symptoms or causing different or more severe symptoms with adding apple cider vinegar. Either way, there's simple, safe, conservative treatments for either of those problems. Now, heartburn, I want to make sure you understand, is more than just the symptoms of burning in the stomach and in the esophagus. It is more serious than that. Thank God for the burning in the esophagus and the stomach, or you wouldn't know you had this problem. And the problems that come along with heartburn are many and varied and relatively severe. What we're talking about here are several things. Number one, a problem digesting and absorbing minerals. Which minerals? All minerals. Because minerals have to be acidified before they can be absorbed in the stomach. Or acidified in the stomach before they can be absorbed through the small intestine. Mineral deficiencies, I don't have to tell you, the list can go on and on. We can sit here for 3 days and talk about the problems that are caused by mineral deficiencies. Number two is a vitamin B12 deficiency that occurs when we have low acidity in the stomach. And vitamin B12, you may or may not know, is very important for all kinds of functions in the human body. Vitamin B12 deficiency is becoming more and more common all the time. The third is allergies that are related to heartburn. All proteins that come into your body, almost all proteins that come into your body, come in through the mouth. Even if you breathe them in through your nose, they get trapped in mucous membranes in the back of your throat and get shuttled into the stomach. And one of the jobs of the stomach is to destroy all the proteins that come into it by exposing it to a strong acid. If your stomach is unable to sufficiently denature the proteins that come into it, those large, complex proteins can pass into the bloodstream through the small intestine and elicit an immune response that we call allergies. So heartburn and allergies really go hand in hand. And then the last sort of problem that is related to heartburn are gallbladder problems. And we see frequently people coming in who've had heartburn for years, and oh, by the way, recently I did have my gallbladder taken out too. Well, it's never a surprise anymore. And we know why, because the gallbladder, in order to function properly, has to be stimulated by acid leaving the stomach. The contents of the stomach, as they exit into the small intestine, have to be sufficiently acidic before the gallbladder will effectively contract and eject bile into the small intestine. If the contents of the stomach are not sufficiently acidic, the gallbladder is not stimulated to forcefully contract, and bile sits there in the gallbladder and eventually can crystallize and then eventually form into what we call gallstones. So not something to take lightly, and not something to just throw Tums at for years on end. Something to be taken more seriously. And I hope this was helpful. I truly appreciate you, and if I can do anything to be of service to you, you let me know. Thank you.